Here we are premiering a new show that is going to put the people of Thompson and Northern Manitoba up front, aptly titled Up Front. We're planning on doing a few different seasons, focusing on different things in the future. We're probably going to talk about fishing, maybe do one on crafting. Might even talk about people in their boats, cottaging, all those kind of things. The first season that we're doing this time around is on musicians, local musicians, and the music scene right now. Thompson and I feel like Manitoba are absolutely bursting with talent and live performances. It's right off the hook. So over the next 7 to 10 episodes, we're going to highlight people in and around the city of Thompson and in northern Manitoba. Our very first guest, I couldn't be more excited than to have this guy on first time around. I'm a big fan. Rashad is hip-hop artist, drummer in the jazz band, Artie Parker band, producer, what else am I missing? Promoter? and all around sort of man about town, soon to be a public speaker as well. So Rashad, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
This is fantastic. Your hip-hop name is OG Palta, right? Is it okay if I call you OG?
Yeah, that's fine.
So we may go with that. Just before we get into all of those things, let's set the scene a little bit. We're here in your, what do you call this? Home studio, your cave, your, what is this place?
I like to call it the man cave, you know. It's kind of where the magic happens, a little home studio setup.
It's pretty good looking setup. Talk us through this. A lot of people I don't think know how to produce hip hop in their house, and there's lots of little bits and pieces here. So quickly just tell us what we're looking at here. I'm guessing these are a little bit big for home use, but, but what the heck if you get them going? So what have we all got going here?
So, you know, we have everything kind of from a recording studio. You know, we got the beat pads, the pianos. We've got the studio monitors, the audio interfaces to, you know, plug your microphones in and record. And then there's just my monitor to monitor my mixing and such. So, you know, got everything that you'd find in a recording studio.
Nice. It looks fast. It looks pro, even if it isn't. I'm curious, just because I do a bit of this. What's your software? What are you running? Pro Tools?
I use Pro Tools, but on the screen right now I got FL Studio, and I also use Reason and Cubase.
Nice. And for the geeks, what kind of microphones do you use?
I use Apex microphones.
Very good. I'm a Shure guy, but Apex is some pretty good stuff too. How long have you lived in Thompson? Have you always grown up here? What's your story?
I was born and raised here in Thompson. I've been here my whole life.
Fantastic. And how long have you been playing music? So I'm guessing not since zero. I see the keyboard. I don't know if you're a piano player. Lots of people start off with piano. Where'd you start off with music?
I started off when I was about 6 years old. I started playing East Indian percussion instruments. And after that, around maybe 10 or 11, I got into, I didn't jump into any instruments. Actually, I just jumped right into electronic music and started experimenting with turntables and such. And at the same time, that's when I jumped into the band classes. So that's when the percussion side kind of kicked up.
It all kind of fell together. What's the name of the East Indian percussion instruments, just because I'm curious?
I was playing the tablas.
Pretty cool. Quick, obviously, easily led you into the Artie Parker band. You're a percussionist there, fixture in the jazz band as well. Did you have any aspirations to play anything else, or was it always percussion? Is that what's in your soul?
I mean, as a kid, you know, just banging around on pots and pans. So, you know, that was the goal. You know, maybe I'll try out drumming, and I liked it, but you know, trying to pick up other things as well. You know, like piano and such. So, trying to get around to other things.
Definitely helps. I know in the jazz band, and I think even in the bigger band, sometimes you're playing vibraphones and bells and things like that. Did that come before the piano or after? Because they're pretty similar.
That came before the piano. Yeah.
And you have trouble with that, reading music? Because usually the percussionist's good with the rhythms, not so good at reading music. Was that tricky to pick up on?
Yeah, it's still a struggle, I'd say. But I'm getting the hang of it. But it's good to have because it goes hand in hand with the production aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll touch on that in a little while, but in some of your hip-hop music, there's definitely some piano background influences there, and I'm curious if you did that yourself or if you had some people in on that. But let's finish up with the band first. So, jazz band, I joke around with Murphy, my son, that you're my favorite player in the band, but because he's in there, I'm gonna put you down a peg to second or third, but with Gabby and Aislinn, you guys have a pretty solid rhythm section in the jazz band. Do you like the jazz band stuff? Is that more fun than the hip hop? What, you like them both? Where are you at?
I really enjoy playing with the jazz band. I'd say I'm more of a jazz guy than a hip hop guy, to be honest. But yeah, jazz, I really enjoy it. Really like playing it, and it's just something I want to do all my life.
And I played percussion in the community band, and I was sad we shared the stage. I was playing the flute at that one, didn't get a chance to both play percussion together. But when you're back in the percussion section, there's an unbelievable amount of instruments that you get to play. Everything from, like we talked about, the vibes to wind chimes to timpanis and all those kind of things. What's your favorite part of that? Do you like getting on the kit and being the jazz guy in the back, or playing a bunch of other instruments?
I like getting on the kit, but I really enjoy playing the timpani. Just hitting those big drums. It's just nice.
Yeah, no, it feels pretty good. It makes it's a powerful feeling to be at the back and kind of jumping in on that. You've been in the band for quite a while, the jazz band and the stage band. What are some memories from that? What's one of the biggest performances, maybe, or something that sticks out in your mind from being part of that group?
Well, we've been to Banff, Minneapolis, multiple places, but I've got to say, for me personally, biggest performance they got to be either in town or in Brandon. Just Brandon, we get the opportunity to work with amazing educators, amazing musicians. So for me, that's the most memorable.
It's a pretty amazing festival. The Brandon Jazz Festival, they bring in such incredible musicians to help you out, and then the show at the end is spectacular, right? You gotta love it. Switching over a little bit to some of the hip hop stuff. When you said that you started with turntables, did you grab your parents' old record player from from the storage room over there and bust it out, or how did you just kind of get into that? Because it's not something that every kid does, right?
Well, my dad used to do the audio here in town for the East Indian event. Eventually got sick and tired of it, so he dumped it on me. So that's when I was starting to learn the aspects of hooking up speakers, little things like that. So he bought me a pair of turntables. He got me the software, and I just started. I would come home from school, just scratch or whatever, right? And from there, that's when the hip hop aspect kind of just picked up, because hip hop, with big aspect of it is just scratching on turntables. So I would mix disco records back and forth and stuff, and from there, that just led me on to making beats and such.
Wow, it's amazing. What a cool story. So many parents buy their kids a piano or some instrument that they don't want, and they end up in that. And your parents bought you a couple of turntables, set you off on an amazing path. What an incredible story. And so you just started scratching around with that. You hooked together a computer and took off. Did you get on YouTube and take some lessons, or was it all just self-taught? How did you ever put your first sort of tune together?
Well, after the turntables, we ended up getting the keyboard, and Dad wanted me to learn piano lessons. Little did he know the keyboard wasn't an actual piano that you play on. It was a keyboard used to make beats. So he himself went on YouTube, watched tutorials, and then through the tutorials that he watched, he taught me how to hook it up, just little simple things like getting a drum pad on the piano and stuff. And from that, I just kind of picked up with the tutorials, started teaching myself, and just went on with it.
Another great father-son story. I mean, lots of dads take their kids fishing, and you guys started making beats in the basement. How cool is that? I mean, that is phenomenal. So, I mean, there feels like there's a bit of a hip-hop scene here in town, but did you manage to kind of hook up with some other guys? Did you just con your friends into coming downstairs here and hanging out with you? How did you kind of take it to the next level?
My family's really involved with music, so growing up, I had cousins who were involved, and my cousins all knew how to do make beats and stuff too. So they would come over, we'd sit down, and cousin Sammy would be playing the guitar or something. We just kind of jam along and stuff, and through that, just started making connections with their friends, and my friends wanted to jump in. So just a little scene, I guess you could say, was evolving.
How great is that? And who are some of your favorite local guys? And who are some of your big hip hop idols? You a J. Cole guy?
I'm definitely a J. Cole guy, yeah. J. Cole's definitely number one. But local guys, I got to give out a shout out to Dag and Poetry Emotion. Those guys been putting the scene on for a long time. Definitely helped me with a lot of stuff. And Iliano, those guys from Winnipeg, they're repping the 204, and I've got to respect them for that.
Yeah, no, you're right. Poetry and Motion guys are great, and I know, like you said, you've met up with some guys in Winnipeg. I think you're part of Hip Hop Manitoba. Do you want to just give a little shout out to them? Tell us what that's all about.
Oh, well, Hip Hop Manitoba is Manitoba Hip Hop, is an organization that a couple of guys from Winnipeg created, and they reached out saying, okay, Thompson's got a scene. Do you want to be a part of it? So I was like, okay, yeah, for sure. So right now we only have an Instagram page, but that page ended up starting actually booming, and soon we were promoting mainstream shows, for Mad Child and people coming down to Winnipeg and promoting artists' music, artists' portfolios and stuff. and also helping them with the industry aspect. You know, like we would, if artists wanted promoters or tour DJs, or they want to do a show somewhere in Canada, we found that stuff for them. We also offer grants and such. So right now we're expanding into a website, and we're going to be the first people in Manitoba to ever have the top, I think it's top 10 hip hop charts. So we're going to do that for Manitoba.
All right, I love that. So you're branching out a little bit from being an artist to some of the production and that kind of stuff. So tell us a little bit about that aspect. Is it really exciting to you? Is it something that you're sort of dragging along with your friends? How big a part of your life is that aspect of all of this?
The production aspect was always the rock behind me. Before I was an artist, I was a producer, right? So eventually, when I started making my own songs, people started reaching out saying, "How'd you do this? How'd you do that?" So that's when I started. I was like, okay, I'm gonna start a little production company. You know, we got video guys here locally, we got graphic guys here locally, we got myself as a producer. You know, so if people need recording or anything, we do it all for them. So that was just kind of, I'd say that's for me the main thing than being an artist, because I do that a lot more than produce music.
You'd rather be behind the computer than the guy on the screen. Talk us through, say, maybe making one of your videos. I know some of the videos that you have for your songs they're slick. I mean, they look fantastic. They're great. Your valedictorian video was great. So if I came to you with an idea and said, "Hey, I got a song. I want to make a video," where do we start? Who do you involve? What's the process from start to finish?
Oh, well, I mean, first of all, you know, if you present a song to me, definitely schedule a meeting. You know, sit down with my team. I've got a couple guys, Zachary Wojcicki, who's a videographer, Liam Gallagher, graphics designer. So, you know, sit down, ask you what you want, and maybe throw out a couple ideas for you and see what we can do for you, and work together to make something great.
Start to put it together and say something like, I'm curious, we'll get people to go watch your valedictorian video, because I thought it was pretty good. It's pretty entertaining. The hip-hop videos are awesome too. What was the time commitment for, say, the valedictorian video from start to finish? How many hours we got in that thing?
We did that in about 2 days, I'd say. We were just kind of sitting at school, and we were all done at work, so we're like, okay, let's go shoot a video. And, you know, just we were so caught up in the heat of the moment that we just kept going. So it wasn't a long time. I'd say the editing took the longest, but yeah, it was definitely a good time.
Editing always takes the longest. Getting the raw footage, as much fun as that is fun, but getting everything else put together too, I think, is a little bit slow. Tell us where we can find your videos if people want to go check them out and see just how great they are.
If you want to check out my videos, you can go to YouTube and type in OG Palta or Jet Boys Entertainment, and my videos will just come right up.
They'll start to show, and they're good to watch. Like I said, they're absolutely professional. So, last question on the hip hop stuff, just because I'm curious. I'm a bit of a musician too, but when you're putting together a song like one of those tunes, where do you start? Do you start with a beat? Do you start with some lyrics? Are you a poet? Do you get a melody in your head? How does that work for you?
It's actually a little, in my words, weird, because you know, back in the day when I was DJing and playing on the turntables, I would sample stuff. So usually what I do is I go through chops and old records and samples that I have, find a sample that I like, or sometimes just a little 30-second recording of like a live instrument. And if I like it, I just throw that on and then structure the beat around that. So usually I just put the sample on there or the melody, and after that I always do the bass line. And then after that, just the beat evolves, and that's when the beat's done. Is I mix and master it, get all the levels right, and then that's when I start to write.
Some lyrics to go on top of it. Yeah. Lots of the lyrics seem pretty personal. Are most of them personal for you, or do you look around and sort of see a story in your friends, or where do those come from?
Well, you know, a lot of the music coming out of the hip hop genre these days is not what you want to be hearing on the radio, right?
Tell me about it. My kid plays it in the car. That is tough stuff, man.
Yeah, and you know, I was like, myself, you know, I was like, I'm an old school hip hop head, you know, where the lyrics they're upbeat and they're about the artist. So I was just like, a couple of my songs, Ride By, it's just a party song. Yeah. I was in the garage when I made that song, and we were just sitting around. Or Get Down, the chorus is a party, you know, party lines, and the verses are deep. And then my other songs, the rest of the album's all deep. So I usually write about like personal things and stories, you know, just good times and stuff. Try to keep it positive.
I like them. I really do feel like there is a bit of a positive vibe starting to come out of the hip hop stuff, right? It was kind of a little more gangster for a while. I went from DJ Jazzy Jeff to some pretty dark stuff, and now I feel like we're climbing out of that hole. Am I on the right page with that?
Yeah, it's definitely it's back on the rise with artists like J. Cole and stuff. We were at a dark path for a while there, but it's definitely coming back up.
Pretty positive stuff. Switching over a little bit, you've got another big event coming up. You got voted as the valedictorian. We talked about your video. How did you end up sort of in the running for that? Is that something you dreamt about since grade 9? Did Tanner talk you into it? How did this come about?
Well, the thought hadn't come up really, but I was sitting in the library one day, and my buddy came up, and he was the first one. It was Tanner. He's like, "Hey man, you should really go for valedictorian." And I thought about it, but at the time, I just shook it off. I was like, no, I don't want to get up there and maybe say something, But then it just got to the point where a lot of my buddies and people in the class were asking. So I was like, okay, I feel that I'd be a strong representative for the class. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go for it, and we'll see what happens. And I ended up being valedictorian.
One thing led to another. I think we're in good hands with you. I like the messages in your songs, like you say, are pretty good, pretty positive guy, and I think people like you. It looks like it. It seems like it. What's the message that you're going to take to that? I'm sure you haven't quite written your speech yet, but probably it's what rumbles around in your head at night when you're falling asleep. So what can we expect?
I just want to take a couple moments to reflect on the memories that we've made, all the good times we've had, kind of say a little thank you to all the educators, all the mentors we've had in the past, but then also take a time to motivate for the future, kind of talk about what we're doing in our life, make a change in the world and stuff like that, just inspire.
Perfect. I love that. Are you nervous about standing up in front of all those people? I'm guessing you've performed in front of people before, but standing up talking to friends and family and parents and all your buddies, you nervous or you think you're going to be cool?
Just the idea of talking in front of that many people is nervous, but I feel when I get up there and look around and see the people that are around me, I feel I'll cool down.
One big deep breath and you'll be A-okay. Speaking of talking about the future and looking back a little bit, but moving on with all your friends, what's in the future for you?
I'm just going to focus on making music. I just auditioned for BU, hopefully with the dreams of becoming a music educator, passing on students and stuff. And just keep going with the music career, maybe make it kind of a main focus instead of a hobby. So, that's pretty much it. Just keep going on with the music.
Dual path. Brandon University would be crazy not to take you. They would have lost their minds. So I love your chances, but you never know. When you take that down that path, is it sticking with jazz a little bit? Are you going to keep up with the Manitoba hip hop guys, or are you looking at becoming basically a music teacher?
I'm sure. Well, in the school aspect, I'm going to definitely stick with jazz. I mean, that's been my main focus school-wise for a while. So I'd love to teach jazz music, but eventually I want to get to the point where I'm in a school teaching students not only jazz but other contemporary music like hip-hop and all the new type of music that's coming out.
I couldn't agree more with you. My small disappointment, and I went through the band program, and our kids did everything, but is that schools don't find an avenue to do that. I mean, we don't teach people guitar very much and things like that. We don't touch too much on piano, which are they're lifelong instruments, and we really don't get into electronic music. I mean, your dad bought you 2 turntables, but not everybody does. So you think you can kind of push that in the future?
Yeah, I'm hoping to. That's actually something that I'd wanted in school, because I know that there's schools in the States that have electronic music classes. So maybe in the future sometime I can make a change in a school somewhere and start doing workshops and stuff to get kids into this, because it really is a good avenue for kids to go into.
Absolutely. Your first hip-hop choir teacher coming right up. OG Palta, hip-hop artist, jazz drummer, and timpani player. That's someday you're going to be the world's best timpani player, maybe producer and promoter and all of those kind of things. Thanks for talking to us. If people want to, they want to check you out online, if they want to get a hold of you, what's everything? Give us the social media. Give us the whole gamut.
Well, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, YouTube, all under the same name, OG Palta. Just all OG Palta, that's it. That's really it.
That's where you are. Get to the graduation ceremony and see you there. Do you have any performances lined up in the near future, or do we just keep an eye on your Twitter page?
I've got a couple guys coming down from Winnipeg. Iliano and them are going to be coming down to Thompson once again to do a show, and I've got an album launch party coming out soon. We're looking at Baco, so let's see that happens.
How great is that going to be? Rashab, thanks again for being our first guest on Upfront. We got a whole bunch more coming, but what a way to kick it off with somebody who's got so much going on. We're going to put on one of your videos right away here, and you can play us out. Thanks again.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me.